This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers, right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning broadcast team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, and Mark Magnuson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Dustin Hoffman.
Well, good day, everyone, and welcome to Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Dustin Hoffman. Today is Thursday, February the 22nd, 2024. Hard to believe we've only got a week left of February. Next week, of course, will be Commodity Classic in Houston, so looking forward to joining you from there as well. Coming up in today's program, we talk with Iowa farmer Scott Henry. He is one of a group that is asking the Congress to consider more climate-smart options in a farm bill, or at least use the money that was already appropriated for climate-smart farming programs and leave the farm bill more streamlined. We'll talk with him later on in the program, but first, let's go ahead and run down the markets.
It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net.
Well, we're at the end of another trading day, and it's time to talk with Kaden Sweeney of agmarket.net. And Kaden, kind of a rough day for the market, so let's start off where things were ending up in the greens.
Yeah, end of another trading day, but unfortunately the same result that we've grown pretty accustomed to seeing here over the last, we're getting close to 3 months now, if not over. March corn going to close down about 4 cents here, 4 1/4. March beans knocking on the door 13 cents lower. Wheat marginally higher at 1/4 cent. So, I mean, it's, I don't know, man, optimism at an all-time low right now, I think, seemed like across the marketplace.
All right, so we know it's been a long time coming, but, this morning coming off the overnights, it looked pretty positive, for a good chunk of that overnight session. I mean, what was it that reversed the fortune so quick?
Yeah, we certainly popped overnight, and even first thing this morning, corn at one point was almost 10 cents higher than we closed. Wheat really, I think, was kind of the driver, has been the last couple of days. March, we got up $6 on the dot, and then reversed down lower, getting close, 15, 17 cents below that. So kind of seems to me like the market following the wheat story, maybe some news out of the Black Sea, but as wheat reversed, everything else kind of seemed to flush out with it. Beans never really got a good footing all day.
All right. So then moving over to the livestock side of things, looking at those cattle and hog markets, I know cattle was a little bit mixed yesterday. I mean, how did things fare out there? And then we can look at the hogs.
Yeah, cattle side kind of closed a mix today as well. Fat cattle were up, what we're looking at here, $1.50 at one point, going to close $1.15 lower, $3 off the high. So pretty big reversal there. Feeders as well, closing about $2 off the high, still in the green by 75, 80 cents or so. But, like cattle on feed report tomorrow, I think you saw, continued optimism early in the session today ahead of that thing, kind of expected to be a bullish report. Then I think you saw traders taking profit ahead of that thing and closed off the high. So certainly wait and see what tomorrow brings. I don't expect anything too major during the session tomorrow. We'll just wait for the numbers after the close.
And then moving on to hogs, what did we see there?
Yeah, hogs continuing their strong run, pushing almost $89 on April. Again, they did kind of sell off, closed off the highs, but again, good strength there. I thought we had a double top in that was going to hold in the 86 area, but we've taken that out over the course of the week. So again, hog market looking pretty good. We're going to go probably the next point on the chart's going to be close to the contract highs, getting up close to 89, $90. So certainly a strong market there. I think if cattle market can stay relatively strong, I think hogs will continue to as well.
Now, I know we got cattle on feed report tomorrow. Any other major news makers that'll be affecting the market the next coming days?
I think that cattle on feed is certainly the forefront of everybody's mind. Like I said, expected to be a fairly bullish report. We're gonna see how bullish it actually is. But on the livestock side, I think that's the winner. On the crop side, we don't have any major reports again until the March WASI, which is still 2-3 weeks away. So continuing to see if March corn wants to hold $4 or not. I think it will, but it remains to be seen. It certainly doesn't look like it wants to right now.
All right, Kaden. Well, if folks want to get some marketing advice from the folks at agmarket.net, what's the best way for them to get in touch?
Yeah, just go to our website, agmarket.net, and you can reach our whole team from there, as well as sign up for a 1-month trial of everything we offer to clients. You kind of get a feel for our research and whatnot. So go to our website. You can reach myself or anyone from our team from there.
All right, well, that's Kaden Sweeney of agmarket.net. Caden, thanks so much for taking the time, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Yep, thanks a lot, Dustin. Appreciate it.
That again was Kaden Sweeney of agmarket.net. Let's go ahead and take a look at the closing numbers. Those come to us courtesy of the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network market screen.
March corn closed down a nickel at 4.06 even. Soybeans were down 13 cents at 11.47 3/4. Soy meal down $7.10 at 334.90 per ton. Soy oil 62 cents lower at 44.21. Chicago wheat was unchanged at 5.83 1/4. Minneapolis wheat down 8 cents at 6.51 1/4. Kansas wheat down 3 1/4 at 5.74. Oats down 7 1/4 at 3.63 even. April live cattle down $1.15 at 186.55. Feeders were up 70 cents at 252.05. April lean hogs up $1.22 at 87.20. Pork cutouts $1.25 higher at 93.25. Class 3 milk up 17 cents at 17.15.
And that's been a check of our ag market recap. We're going to take a short break and hear from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association and the Soy Checkoff. And when we come back, we talk with Iowa farmer Scott Henry about climate-smart needs in a new farm bill. Stay with us.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
Welcome back to AMPM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Dustin Huffman. Well, we know the Farm Bill is way behind, several months behind, and even with the extension to September of this year, we still have a long way to go, and it's a farm bill that's based off of old data, at least 5 to 10 years old. And so farmers are not only worried about getting a new farm bill done in time, because with the fact of the August recess and then the campaign that sees the whole House leave town and a third of the Senate to try to keep their jobs, there's a good chance that if it isn't done by August 1st, it may get kicked down the road once again and be weaponized during the campaign trail as it comes to an end. Well, Iowa farmers are concerned about that, and as well as updating it to make sure that it is more in tune with the nature of the industry right now. We have seen lately a renaissance in climate smart and conservation agriculture and programs to help make it pay. But there's also the support needed from the federal government to make the incentives to meet the goals set by the USDA. Well, obviously there is funding that was available through the Inflation Reduction Act that's still waiting to be used. And while there are calls to reallocate it, it could be used the way it was intended and leave some of that stuff out of the expensive $1.5 trillion farm bill. We had a chance to talk with Scott Henry. He is a farmer from Nevada, Iowa, with Longview Farms, to get his take on what is needed. Thanks for taking a few minutes to talk with us here today.
Yes, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
All right, so first of all, why don't you tell us a little bit about your farm and the story of your operation there in Nevada?
Yeah, Longview Farms is a diversified, multi-generational family farm headquartered in Nevada, like you said. We do row crop corn and soybeans along with seed corn, and then do have some livestock interests both in custom feeding cattle and hogs.
Okay, and so what we're talking about today is obviously we know there's so much work on being done with environmental efforts in the agriculture industry, conservation efforts, things like that, and you're helping push a drive to, make sure that we're seeing more of those programs included into the new farm bill, which of course we all know sadly is running late, but it still gives us some time to negotiate what's going in there. So tell us about those concerns, especially from that Iowa farmer perspective, for the tools you need to have available.
Yeah, I think the farmer, not just Iowa farmer, but the American farmer needs this farm bill to happen, and we need it to happen sooner rather than later. So much momentum in the industry right now around conservation practices and climate smart agriculture is giving the resources to farmers to adopt those practices. And I think that's imperative, not just for our own future, but also for the quality of waters in the United States and in Iowa, as well as just the consumer's demand and helping farmers to meet it. Unfortunately, too many people right now are asking for this, and there's a lack of support. There's a lack of technical assistance, and even if you look at some of the different programs that are existing in the old farm bill, that could either run out of money or be shuttered completely if we don't get at minimum an extension, but preferably a broader based new bill.
And I know one of the concerns, first and foremost for a lot of farmers is, the financial concern. You're talking about changing the way you operate, maybe some acres coming out of production for, edge of field strips or what other production. And so it's got to pay, it's got to hit that bottom line, especially in a time right now when our return on investment is getting tighter with the increase in inputs and the decrease we're seeing in the marketplace.
Definitely, the economic impact of all of this is huge, right? The critical importance of having the tools available for us to not only produce a crop, but to produce a crop that the consumer will buy and that the consumer demands. And what's so unique about this point in time is that there seems to be a disconnect with the boots on the ground and who's doing the work, so to speak, and those that are consuming the products, whether it be through a vehicle or a shirt on someone's back or the actual food that they eat. And so for us as producers, we want to see the protections that help us manage the downside risk. As you mentioned, that's obviously a bigger issue this year than what it has been in the past couple of years. And so that's very top of mind when we think about risk management, particularly in regards to crop insurance, as well as just practices and adopting new opportunities and technologies to help us be more resilient with all of the volatile weather and everything else that Mother Nature seems to be throwing at us these last couple of years.
All right, so when we talk about some of these priorities that you want to see put into the Farm Bill, obviously to get a full wish list is something that's tough in any piece of legislation. But what are some things like really at the top of that list that you are concerned with or that you'd like to see get into this Farm Bill?
For us, I think there's two big things. One is that we want to see the actual outside of the Farm Bill, the climate smart ag and the money that was put into the Inflation Reduction Act stay in there. If you look at farmers that have been trying to implement certain projects on their farm, a lot of them have struggled to get it done because our NRCS offices haven't been fully staffed for a long time, or there hasn't been technical assistance out there. And so we would ask that the money that has been already allocated to certain things through the Inflation Reduction Act actually be used to help clear the backlog, so to speak, for what is out there, and then let the Farm Bill move forward on a standalone basis. And so that's one thing that I think a lot of farmers, when we actually go into these government agencies and these government offices, we want to see people there that not only have the ability to help us, but have the capacity and the time to help us with the different requests and different activities that we're trying to do. And so I know that there's a debate in Washington as to if dollars should be repurposed and moved, and I guess the encouragement that me as an Iowa farmer would share with them is to let those dollars do what they were designed to do to help clear the backlog, and let's use this Farm Bill as something as a go forward, so that way we're not fighting for dollars available in the future. The other element I think that is big is continuing to just make sure that the economic element of a lot of these production practices is real. And so anywhere we can help make the economic case, not just the environmental case, is huge, whether that be through technical assistance or the creation of the Center for Conservation Economics. I think there's a lot of different ways that, if we can help farmers know and understand that these practices work, and that there is an economic benefit to them, that they'll adopt them and that they'll stay adopted. I think the worst thing would be is to have a program run out of money and all of a sudden you see farmers stop implementing or stop using these practices, and therefore were those dollars just wasted? So again, I think that the more we can help farmers learn and train, then that's the big thing. And then lastly, obviously, what is probably the most important for many of us is continuing to support the crop insurance program. I understand that there could be reasons to implement certain requirements around practices or create different incentives for certain regenerative ag or climate smart ag practices. I don't think there's a ton of pushback in the farmer community for it, as long as those are done on a voluntary basis and there's sound measuring and ways to actually see the benefits of those tools. But at the end of the day, we need to make sure that we have the risk management support because we are a critical infrastructure for our country here, whether it be the ethanol that goes towards fueling our country, or towards the feed that we're raising to help feed the country.
All right. So, speaking as the farmer who's obviously got the systems in place in the conservation farming, maybe just highlight some of how these programs that we're talking about, whether the NRCS is behind them or not, how they help a farmer in this situation to be able to make this pay off and also be environmentally responsible.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different ways that they can help the farmer. First and foremost, I think that many of us, we need a little bit of a boost to get started, or at least a little bit of a push sometimes. And I think that's where NRCS offering support for particular projects or for the implementation of a certain practice can be a great way to introduce that on the farm. And then we need the technical guidance and assistance to help farmers know that these practices are working, not just for the environment, but for their bottom line as well. And that's ultimately going to be what gives us the staying power to see these practices not just implemented and introduced, but then to be sustaining going forward. And so in my mind, those are definitely some of the big components of again, not just introducing an idea that works, but proving it and then seeing it survive long term.
All right. Well, that covers the questions I had. Scott, is there anything you want to add in closing today?
I think I would just encourage probably the two different groups out there, the farmers and the consumers, to think big picture and to take an objective view on not just the Farm Bill, but this whole idea of climate smart agriculture in general. I don't think that we're competing with one another as much as it lets on, or as much as sometimes the articles or the commentary and rhetoric that's out there is. At the end of the day, we all want ourselves and our kids and our grandkids to be able to eat clean food, drink safe quality water, and to have a beautiful country full of the natural resources that we have existing today to be available for us in the future. And if we can align behind that, it shouldn't matter what the vote count is in DC or what one side says versus the other. At the end of the day, we'll end up with something that's good for everyone, and one that we can all call a win.
All right. Well, Scott, we thank you so much for taking the time to visit with us today. A lot of great information.
Thank you for having me.
That again was Iowa farmer Scott Henry. And that's bringing us to the end of today's show. You can find all our content online at iowaagnet.com. You can follow us on Facebook, X, LinkedIn, and on our YouTube channel. And of course, you can always hit the subscribe bell and hit the bell icon, I should say, to get notified each time we put out a new video project. You can also check out our free market podcasts on Amazon, Apple, Google, Spotify, and Podbean. From the IARN studios in Des Moines, I'm Dustin Huffman. For Andy Peterson, Riley Smith, and Mark Magnuson, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.